Hi guys, welcome to Counterpoints. My name is Connor, and today we are going to be reviewing the Death Korps of Krieg by Absolutely Nothing Studios, I want to say. It's a, fan-made 40K trailer for Death Korps of Krieg. There was, of course, the kind of related, and I actually, for a second, I thought they were the same producer, Death Korps of Krieg video by Sodaz, which we'll be reviewing shortly. But this was an equally maybe not equally, but it's still a phenomenal animation that I think is deserving of attention and analysis. So if you want to watch the original, go watch the original. This is a reaction video. I am a Marine, a former Marine from the United States Marine Corps. I am a Pogue, person other than Grunt, but I like to think that I paid attention during combat training and my deployment training. I was also a law enforcement officer for 4 years, so I think that kind of informs the way that I look at violence and kind of cool 40K related content. So whether it's sci-fi, 40K, whatever, I like to bring my perspectives to bear whenever I'm analyzing media. And this animation is phenomenal. I actually wouldn't be surprised if the creator of this was either an avid student of history or a veteran himself. So without further ado, let's get into the prelude to the violence. All right, so if you're already picking up some details, good on you. So number one, these are the Death Korps of Krieg. They come from a planet called Krieg, which I think is German for war, although I could brush up on my German. And basically the backstory of that is that there was a disloyal, chaos-inspired, I don't even know if it was chaos-inspired, but there was a rebellion against the Imperium of Man, and the Death Korps of Krieg were the only loyalist faction on the planet, and in order to maintain their loyalty to the Imperium, they actually they nuked the entire planet, killing all of the traitors and the civilians who were in traitor cities, basically turning their homeworld into a black, overcast death world. And then they continued to fight siege and trench warfare in the nuclear hellscape that they had created back on their homeworld. And as a result, they lived in underground hive cities protected from radiation, and they have like some level of radiation protection in the suits that they wear, which is obviously very World War I inspired. And they also have like horses, like really evil looking horses that also wear gas masks, and we're basically World War I Prussians, but set in space, who nuke their planet in order to stay loyal to the Imperium of Mankind. That's kind of the lore. So if you're wondering why nobody went to go pick up the dead guy who got shot in the head, it's because these guys don't care. They're vat grown. They're grown as quickly as they can to be of warrior age as quickly as possible. They're trained to a higher level than most Imperial guardsmen, and then they're viewed, 1, as incredibly stoic, 2, as having a death wish, 3, they like fighting with trench shovels and also using World War I style war tactics. You can even see that in their gear. Their gear looks a little bit more rustic, a little bit more old than some of the Cadian Imperial Guard, if you were to look at it. And then just another tiny detail, which I really appreciate this animator for, there's actually a plasma gun in the background, which will come into play later. I forget that Russian author, but that Russian author who says don't put a gun on the wall unless it's by the end of the book your character has used it. The plasma gun will be used at some point. And then the tank that went over the barricade and advanced into the territory was a Lemon Russ battle tank that we will also see later. Very small detail, but this position holding a firearm is called present arms. It's actually like a salute. So a salute with your rifle. So while this is very likely an enlisted guardsman, the fact that this gentleman is standing at some kind of guard post and he's at the present arms position actually tells me that the creator of this is at least aware that this is something you do when officers are present. Now, normally, like if you were in a guard duty, a ceremonial guard duty, you wouldn't hold that position while the officers were just in the other room discussing, officer things. But at the same time, this is, what, 38,000 years into the future. So who knows what kind of military drill has taken place off planet in different worlds and different cultures. So the fact that the author or the creator of the series was knowledgeable enough to have an enlisted person with the present arms with his rifle in front of an officer's bunker is wildly detailed, to the point that either the creator is a nerd or a veteran. And either way, I'm very appreciative of these very minor details.
I don't care. Keep contacting them until we get a reply. Until we get a sit rep on our regiment to our east, we cannot act. Send in reserves to reinforce further down the line. Make sure that flank is held. Call in danger close bombardments if need be.
Sir.
All right, so one thing, this is a servo skull. This is a human soul embedded in a robot that has anti-grav technology and serves like administrative tasks. Also, the Death Korps of Krieg, because they're so stoic, often are depicted, they're rarely depicted in any kind of live media or CGI media, but actually hearing them talk was almost off-putting, because I'm always imagining these like death mask, silent, terrifying, stoic warriors of the future. But actually what I kind of realized is like, that's an absurd thing to think. Like, these people have to talk to each other. They have to relay tactics. They have to coordinate bombardments. Of course they would have to talk. What are they going to do? Do hand signals to call in artillery strikes? So while the voice acting is, well, it's good. It's above par. But it was almost like off-putting at first. And then as the realism kind of set home, it actually kind of made me love the piece more.
State your number and regiment, Guardsman.
Troop 302-1, messenger from the 301st Krieg Regiment.
Our eastern flank. We've been trying to contact you for the past 3 hours. What's going on?
Our lines have taken heavy casualties, and communications have been cut. Our commander sent my squad to report that the 301st will be withdrawn to the second line due to crippling losses.
Retreating? We have orders to take the Heretic line and secure as much land as possible for the 22nd Regiment inbound. We have to advance. Get our armored platoons ready swiftly. I want Earthshaker rounds raining on their lines until I give the order to stop. Have the Guardsmen ready to go over. Guardsmen, where's the rest of your squad?
Dead, sir.
Very well. Join the lines.
Yes, sir.
And that plays into the Krieg mentality so well. So like, even if the acting is, the voice acting is a little bit, like they didn't do it in a professional studio or whatever, who gives a shit? They conveyed information. They were aware of tactical positions. They literally had a survivor from a unit from the position that they were wondering about come in and inform them that basically they were screwed. They mentioned the fact that there was a secondary line to retreat to, which shows an awareness of World War I trench tactics, that basically you would have multiple lines of defense that you could retreat to as needed. And it's so well thought out that any gaps in technology or lighting or animation or whatever, which, by the way, I love the lighting in the animation. I'm actually really happy that this is a daytime set 40K piece, because often people use darkness to cover up flaws in artistic pieces. So the fact that you can kind of see like, oh, well, there's maybe not like realistic mud on the boots, or the graphics are maybe a little bit dated for what's possible by professional studios. Who cares? Because the acting, the direction, the choreography, which we're about to see in a minute, the thought about tactics, like all of it is so above par that if you gave this person money, they would create a phenomenal media project. And it's actually like, you should go check out their Patreon. Maybe I'll find their Patreon and link it in the description. So let's continue, because this has all been teasing for the impending violence. Minor details, and I'm sorry, but if you want to watch the original, go watch the original, okay? Commissary doesn't have a gas mask. Commissars are from the Schola Progenium. They're not necessarily from Krieg. And Kriegsmen actually have, normally the Commissar's job is to execute cowardly guardsmen who don't fulfill their duties. It's actually common in the Krieg regiments for them to execute their Commissars for cowardice because Commissars actually have to hold Krieg back from charging headlong into battle. How sweet is that?
Guardsmen, fix bayonets, equip bayonets, be ready for blood.
Minor details. So gas mask breathing, the energy field for the power sword, and also if you heard the artillery come in, the ringing after the artillery landed was like if your ear had been exposed to a concussive shock that had caused mild tinnitus, which is a thing, by the way. The heartbeat in the background. There's our buddy, the Lemon Russ. Got taken out by an anti-tank crew. Alright, so number one. These are heretics, random chaos cultists, but of course, in a universe so vast, you're going to bump into normal humans who will defy the Imperium. The guns that they have are normal rifles, which I believe are called either auto guns or stubbers. So on the tabletop, they're viewed as equally powerful to a las gun, but in the lore set of the universe, normal rifles are not as powerful as a las gun. A las gun is more like a 308 rifle round or a 50 cal rifle round, depending on who you ask. It also has very low recoil. It also has rechargeable cells. It's also very lightweight. So there's a lot of advantages to having las rifles over ballistic, or not ballistic, but powder-based ballistic weaponry. This is an autocannon, which is very similar to anti-aircraft or light anti-tank guns of our modern era. It's fully automatic and it fires big honking bullets. So while the Lemon Russ should be able to withstand this thing, it also would not be surprising if there were some anti-tank shells that were in here that were able to pierce through the hull, and just through sheer attrition were eventually able to puncture and kill the crew inside, and that's what took out the Lemon Russ. Overcharged plasma round cooks the anti-tank crew in half. How sick is that? All right. I'm going to give that to you again, okay? And we're going to go a little slow. All right. So I hope you appreciated that violence. Go ahead and rewatch it on your own by clicking backwards a few times. We're going to break some shit down. Smoke grenade as concealment, so you can move into the trenches and, basically use the element of surprise and the concealment to your advantage. By the time they realize that it's a smoke grenade, it's already too late. Bayoneted. Double tapped with a las rifle. Ooh. Double tapped again. Wounded in the arm. Oh wait, I didn't kill that guy. Domed. Now watch this. Boom. Parried, strike, rotate to get the blade to do more damage, and also to free the blade from its current cut, withdrawal. These are actual bayonet tactics. So again, the person who created this animation is either a veteran or a history geek. In either way, I am loving it. Absolutely loving it. And on top of that, So we've already seen a variety of Kriegsmen die, and this is presumably the gentleman who came over from the other line that died. What's weird is that the human ego, like what human men enjoy about violence, is performing well in a violent setting, but it's oftentimes not in the individual scenario. So, for instance, the grenade might have not have distracted the people properly. When his friend went over the wall, he just as easily could have been shot. If the person that he had originally shot hadn't been distracted by his friend bayoneting the original heretic, then he might not have been distracted enough for this guy to get the upper hand in order to double tap him. If the smoke grenade hadn't gone off well enough, and if the other two heretics had been paying attention, then they might have gotten the drop on the Kriegsman as he broached into the thing. But he basically wheeled, fired. The first round didn't hit. He continued to fire, hit the second guy in the head. This is like, I don't know, maybe the third guy he's killed. The third guy he's killed turns in order to fire at him and even gets a round or two off before he domes him again. And then finally, he's being charged by somebody for close combat. And if he had screwed up the parry, he very easily could have been impaled. But because he's well trained and he's a Kriegsman, he does the parry, stabs, rotates, and pulls out because he's better drilled than most Imperial Guardsmen. Not only is this like phenomenally impressive, but what's cool is the element of risk, because at any point, any of this could go wrong. And that's what war actually is. It's performing to the utmost ability as a disciplined individual warrior, but knowing that chance can come and screw you at any point. But it's like he who dares prevails or something like that. I forget what the saying is. But basically, it's a combination of skill, discipline, training, bearing, strength, courage, and then all of those factors being combined with luck. And that's why war is so psychologically interesting to most people. But don't worry, folks. We're not done yet. So this rebel heretic, thinking that he's going to be the hero who gets to cover his fellow chaos cultists as they retreat, he thinks that he's going to be able to take down a Kriegsman. And let's see how that works out for him. Is it smoke? Nope, it's a frag. All right, I hope you enjoyed that. It was beautiful. Let's go for the breakdown. If you want to watch it as many times as you want, go ahead and do the rewind 10 times so you can watch the breakdown, but now I'm going to break it down for you. This guy's camping. Call of Duty, the millennials and the zoomers, they call this camping. You know, basically sitting in a corner with your back to a wall waiting for somebody else to poke their head out so you can blast it off, all right? He thinks he has the advantage. He technically does, but in order to upset this advantage, the Kriegsman throws a frag out in order to disorient his opponent. And while a smoke or a frag would have been like equally well distracting in this situation, the frag is actually good because the frag is concussive. So even if the person is not killed by the grenade, the sheer force can be intimidating and terrifying. And basically, like, even if it gets close enough to you, it can liquefy your guts. So basically, like, throwing the frag allows him to seize the advantage, whereas before he didn't have one. Now, military-wise, he would want to pie this corner a little bit more tight and be more tight, but it doesn't matter because he's about to lay down a... Well, I mean, it does matter because he could get fragged for what he's doing if the other guy didn't have his head down. But at the same time, if he was nice and tight to this corner and then laid down the same covering fire that he's about to for himself, then this would be a perfect tactic. boom, boom, boom. And this is what's showing you that the author or the creator is paying attention. This guy doesn't just take the covering fire like a wussy. He basically tries to blind fire in order to take out the Kriegsman. But guess what? It doesn't work because the suppressing fire is so accurate that it actually singes and nearly hurts or kills the heretic, even while he's blind firing. All right, so if you didn't catch that little detail, I'm pretty sure the heretic actually throws his rifle at the Kriegsman as a distraction and then charges him with the chainsaw. Let's see if I saw that correctly. Yep, used his rifle as a distraction and then charged him with a chain axe, which is typically the reason why I keep calling him Chaos Cultist or a heretic, even though they don't have any very specific like chaos markings, is because the chain axe is normally it's a Khorne, it's a blood god kind of thing. So throws the gun as a distraction, gets a distracted shot off, and charges with the chain axe, which is parried by the Kriegsman. The Kriegsman parries with his rifle, but as a result, his rifle is at a disadvantage. In movies, sometimes a good guy will cast away a benefit, like a rifle or a gun or whatever, so he can fight the enemy hand to hand. But that's not what the Kriegsman does. The Kriegsman is like, oh, hey, you just tried to stab me, and now I parried and I shoved you off and you're 3 feet away. I'm still going to try to shoot you because I'm not going to give up any advantage that I have. Oh, well, unfortunately the rifle doesn't work, so I guess we got to do this the old dirty way, right? And Krieg are, number one, since they're famous for their trench warfare, the entrenching tool, the shovel, has become synonymous with like Krieg melee warfare. There's a whole bunch of memes about it. It's really funny, it's really cute, it's really fun, but also it's really great for this animation. And then let's just watch the hand-to-hand combat. All right, so both of them are using everything they have. They're not just using their weapons, they're also using their fists. So when a melee strike doesn't land, they use their fists in order to gain an advantage. Right here, the Kriegsman could have lost an elbow, and that's entirely possible that maybe this is slightly off animation-wise, but it's still pretty cool. And he parries away the chain axe, knocks down his opponent, gives him no opportunity, and gets a shovel kill. And has a sick pose as a beautiful final moment for the animation. So yeah, so this is great on so many levels. So number one, animation's great. Number two, daytime animation or daylight animation was a ballsy move because any of your mistakes are visible to the viewer. All of the details that are in the back of the animation are eventually used, like the Loman Russ battle tank and the plasma rifle. The conversation makes sense, the tactics make sense before the violence even begins. Once the violence begins, all of the equipment makes sense, all the tactics make sense, all of the choices made by individual characters make sense. Every single person on screen is doing their utmost best to kill each other. There's no pulled punches, there's no tactical slips, and any tactical slips that can be critiqued on can basically be minimized by, one, either them not being perfectly trained, or two, just the limitations of the animation. But you can tell the author himself put an incredible amount of thought into what he was doing and what he was putting on screen. The mechanics, the violence, the tactics, everything is just 10 out of 10. So the fact that the graphics are a little bit older, a little bit more outdated or whatever, I do not care at all. I do not care at all. The author, the creator of this animation, is thinking about every single frame he puts on screen. That makes him an artist. That makes him worthy of your time and energy and support. And I'm very happy that you watched this video. So, like, share, subscribe, dislike, all that YouTube nonsense. I wish you and yours the best. Check out my other stuff. I do politics, I do law enforcement, I do Warhammer 40K, I do sci-fi, I do tactics, I do all sorts of random crazy crap. So go ahead and check out all the other stuff. I wish you and yours well, and I'll catch you in the next one.